Hello students, I hope you are well and safe at home. I, Amalika Sharma, your social science teacher, is going to teach you the third chapter of geography of class 6, that is the motions of the earth. Students, in this chapter you are going to study about rotation, revolution, effects of rotation, effects of revolution, equinox and solstice. So let us begin the chapter. Students, in the previous chapter, you learned that all the planets in our solar system, including the Earth, rotate on their axis. Simultaneously, they also revolve around the Sun in their orbits. The two major types of motion of the Earth are called rotation and revolution. So let us start with the first motion of the Earth, that is rotation. Students, you might have seen the sun rising in the east and setting in the west every day. However, it is the Earth spinning motion from west to east that creates the impression of the sun rising and setting. This motion of the Earth on its axis is called rotation. One complete rotation takes 24 hours or one full day. The period of rotation is known as the Earth Day. Students, you know, one rotation of the Earth is also called a mean solar day. From a distance in space, the Earth seems to rotate in an anti-clockwise direction or from west to east. The rotation of the Earth explains why places located in the east have sunrise earlier than those located in the west. As the Earth rotates, the speed of the motion is constant and you move along with it at the same speed. That is why you do not feel the motion of the Earth. Students, have you ever wondered what would happen if the Earth will not rotate? If the Earth stopped rotating on its axis, then the portion of the Earth facing the sun would always experience day, while the portion of Earth facing the dark would always experience night. It would bring continuous warmth and cold all the time to the respective regions. In such condition, life will become impossible. So let us see effects of rotation. Rotation causes day and night. The Earth's axis makes an plane angle of 66.5 degrees with the plane of its orbit. This plane is called the orbital plane of the Earth. Due to the Earth's nearly spherical shape, at any point of time, one half of it has day while the other half has night. This is because as the Earth rotates, one part faces the sun and has daylight, while the opposite side, which is away from the sun, is in darkness and experiences night. This daily movement of the Earth is called its diurnal motion. The imaginary line that divides the day from the night on the globe is called the circle of illumination. Thus, the portion of the Earth that receives sunlight experiences day, while the portion which is in darkness experiences night. The length of days and night is not the same throughout the year. This variation is due to the inclination of the Earth's axis. Due to this inclination, the northern hemisphere remains inclined towards the sun for half of the year and the southern hemisphere during the other half. Rotation of the Earth also causes tides. Tides are another effect on the Earth's rotation. If one lives near the sea coast, the rise and fall in water level at different times of the day is visible. When the moon is directly overhead, its gravitational force pulls the water in the oceans and causes water to rise. This is called high tide. When the motion is furthest from the earth, the water level recedes. This is called low tide. This movement happens twice a day. Children, I hope you are understanding the chapter. Now let us see the next topic, that is revolution. The movement of the earth around the sun is called revolution. The period taken by the earth to complete one revolution is called a year. One revolution is made up of 365 days, 6 hours, 9 minutes and 9.54 seconds. Usually, we consider the period of 1 year to be 365 days. The extra 6 hours in 4 successive years are added together that amount to 1 day. So, after 4 years, we get a year with 366 days instead of the usual 365 days. Such a year is called a leap year. So, which year was the last leap year? When is the next leap year? Children, find out the answer. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is effects of revolution. Due to revolution of the earth causes seasons. In general, there are 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn and winter. As the earth orbits around the sun, its axis always remains tilted at 23.5 degrees in the orbital path. This means that as the earth revolves, the northern hemisphere faces the sun for half of the year and it tilts away from it for other half. It also means that different locations on the earth face the sun at various times of the year. This constant inclination of the earth on its axis combined with the revolution of the earth causes different seasons. When the northern hemisphere faces the sun, it receives direct sun rays, so it is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. On the other hand, when the southern hemisphere tilts towards the sun, it gets direct sun rays, so it has summer while the northern hemisphere has winter. The earth orbits the sun in an oval or elliptical path. So, the distance between the earth and the sun varies during revolution. Now let us see the next topic, that is equinox. So what is equinox? The time or date, that is twice each year, at which the sun crosses the celestial equator when day and night are equal length. That is on 22 September and 20 March in a year. So let us see spring equinox. On 21st March, the sun is directly overhead on the equator. So every place on earth has 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. This is called the spring or vernal equinox. Next, as the earth moves on, the northern hemisphere tilts more towards the sun and experiences summer. Now let us see autumnal equinox or autumn equinox. On 23rd September, the sun is overhead on the equator again. On this day, the northern hemisphere has autumnal or fall equinox while the southern hemisphere has spring equinox. Now let us see the next topic, that is solstice. So what do you mean by solstice? Solstice is the time when the sun reaches its highest or lowest point at noon, resulting in the shortest and longest days of the year. So let us see summer solstice. On 21st June, the sun is overhead on the Tropic of Cancer, that is 23.5 degrees north. This is called the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere because of the tilt of the Earth's axis. The circle of illumination does not pass through the poles, and places north of the Arctic Circle have 24 hours of daylight. The sun does not rise or set on this day. but circles around just above the horizon. On the other hand, places beyond the Antarctic Circle have 24 hours of darkness. This is the longest day in the northern hemisphere but the shortest day in the southern hemisphere. Now let us see winter solstice. Since the earth keeps revolving, the rays of the sun fall directly on the Tropic of Capricorn on 22 December. This is the longest day in the southern hemisphere but the shortest day in the northern hemisphere. It is summer solstice for the southern hemisphere and winter solstice for the northern hemisphere. On this day, the Antarctic Circle has 24 hours of daylight while the Arctic Circle has 24 hours of darkness. Now let us see varying length of day and night. You may have wondered why the daytime is longer in summer and shorter in winter. This is because of the inclination of the earth on its axis. During summer, a large part of the northern hemisphere remains inclined towards the sun. So, there are longer hours of daylight during summer. In contrast, a large part of the southern hemisphere is away from the sun, experiences longer hours of darkness and therefore has longer nights. However, the areas around the equator have 12 hours of daylight throughout the year. So children, this was all about the chapter Motions of the Earth. You discovered the different movements of the Earth called rotation and revolution and how these movements help make seasons and even day and night. That was all about this chapter. Go through the chapter and try to understand the concept. Read chapter in a nutshell given in your book after the chapter and try to do the book exercises of the lesson. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe and stay happy.